Okay, so welcome back to some more MX versus ATV Reflex. Today we're going to be checking out two, not one, but two brand new custom tracks. This is the first one we're going to take a look at by Nick DeLeon, and it is called Ural Hills, I think. I might be saying that wrong, but yeah, in his description, he said something along the lines of, I'm going to throw some fuel into the fire to keep it going, to keep the fire burning. He doesn't want the Reflex community to completely go away or whatever, and so he just kind of put this track out there, and it's a fantastic track. It's very different. I guess this track and the next track, some of the things I'm going to say are very similar to each other, but and before I get into it, maybe it's because I was having an off day in Reflex. It's not because the track is bad or anything, but man, on both of these tracks today, I struggle. It was like impossible for me to get a flow, and especially with this track. So this track had a bunch of up and down elevation change. It was kind of always twisting and turning. It was a very rare moment to have a straight section on this track, and I think that's great. I think that's unique and kind of, I don't know, it kind of felt like a Nick DeLeon track, which is a good thing, but I never felt like I had a flow here. I just was struggling trying to find a good bike setup and whether or not I wanted more acceleration or more top speed and trying to get a smooth line. I mean, into and out of the corners, you had braking bumps, acceleration bumps. Like on this triple, you're landing into these braking acceleration bumps, and it's just rough everywhere on the track. And again, with the fact that it's always twisting and turning away from you, it was very difficult. And there were some sections like here, I didn't see any way possible of doubling off of that. You if you were to hit at full throttle, you're basically just going to face into the next one. So I don't really know. This section was really cool, and we actually were able only to clear that finish line like that one time. I was so excited, and I was like, oh my gosh, we actually did it. And then I kept messing up here, but there's also a section where there's a double and then this huge downhill double, and I was never able to get that playing. And I played for probably a good hour on this track. Couldn't get it. And finally, we captured it here. The one and only time we did it, we got it on footage, so you'll see that. But there's another double where, well, I'll just kind of walk you through it when we get there. There was a couple sections that I just never got. I never figured it out, nothing. But here's the huge double section. So we go over that one, which wasn't so bad, but you have to clear that out on the first one to be able to get the huge downhill one there. Super sick, super awesome. You can clear over this. Sometimes I was turning it to like a little wheel tap over that next little bump, I guess. And this, I was never able to clear over that. And then we hit a double here, but I never actually was able to clear this next double here. This one, I'm sure you probably can. It would be weird if you couldn't, but it wasn't in the cards for us to get that. But that triple afterwards was super easy, so it's not like you had to clear out over that step up double to get the triple after it. This section, I'm trying to remember. I mean, I kept hitting the fence quite a bit. I'm struggling, man. There was a lot of lines to hit, and I kind of chose to stay on the very outside a lot of the time because it was tough enough for me to clear some of this stuff on the outside. I love this section. This section had great flow. It wasn't that difficult. You just had to remember the layout because I kept jumping off the track here. I jumped too far to the left. I kept forgetting it was there. So, yeah, that's Nick DeLeon's Ural Hills, I believe. Interesting track, really good layout, just more felt like a pro track, not for the cash player such as myself. It was difficult. So if you have PC, I encourage you to go try this because then you can see that maybe I'm right and it's difficult, and maybe I'm wrong and I was having a bad day and I'm just not that good of a player. So it really doesn't hurt my feelings if I'm not a good player, but yeah, it was a struggle. This was the toughest track out of the two that we're going to check out. So we're going to be jumping over here in just a second to the second track, which is Ironman Raceway, the Replica by RDC and Gary664. So this track was originally started, I believe, by Gary664, it sounds like, and he had it maybe as a beta or something, but never finished it. And then RDC, which if you're not familiar with who that is, it's Red Rider, Dark Slides, and C4 Detonator. They collaborate. They created RDC, and they did High Point, I believe, which we checked out earlier this year. I think it was this year. which was fantastic, and this track is no different. But they did say, I mean, it's a collaboration with Gary664 because he had the track. They said it would have been not possible to do it without Gary664's height map, I think. But they said they drastically changed it, and, you know, it has that feel of RDC to it. If you played the High Point track, you know, the Replica, then you understand that this one's very similar. They did a stellar job on making it feel like Ironman Raceway. And in these jumps, this triple here, I never actually was able to completely clear over it. Again, just like Nick's track, I was struggling all day trying to find a good setup. I just could not figure out how I wanted to do it. I'd have the bike set up for most of the track, but then I couldn't clear out that. There's a bunch of big jumps here, and yeah, I know we kind of went off the track there because I'm in free ride, but it's not a big deal. This step-up triple is not that hard to get. But there is a huge triple, well, it's not huge, but there's a step-up triple coming up here that I only got a few times. It's a really flat jump. You don't really get the lift that you need. It's coming up here after 2 more corners, I think. This section was kind of interesting. I wasn't really sure the best way around it here. I kind of later on stuck to the inside. And then this right here, I think we get it in this lap. Yeah, we got it really, really clean there. But sometimes that step-up triple is wicked tough to get. The track was just really, really rough, kind of like Nick's track, but even more so. It's just constantly, it had that beat-up national feel to it. That really, you know, a man's track, you know. It's just really tough and separate the men from the boys and really, really, really rough. And I also struggled with the ruts here. I felt like the ruts were done really, really well. Don't get me wrong. I love the ruts that they did. They were kind of that in-between where they grabbed you really, really good, but they weren't the ruts that you could hit at 100 miles an hour. So the ruts were so good that sometimes I'd find myself being more confident than I should have been going into them way too fast. And I felt like I had a great run, but then you'd kind of hook on something and you would crash. So it did remind you that even though the ruts are great, you can't go around the ruts 100 miles an hour. You had to kind of have some throttle control, and you just saw there we got through that one extremely well. So for the most part, the ruts were great, but I just struggled all day long. I was popping in and out of them. I was pushing the rear wheel over the top, just like that. It was a struggle, man. Great track. I just struggled, so I'm not going to hold that against the track or anything. It's not really a review anyways. It's just, hey, these are 2 sweet tracks you should check out. Plus, they're new, so if you've been, I guess, missing out on Reflex content, there are 2 new tracks on. The link to the website where you can download these tracks is in the description. People ask me, hey, what's up with Reflex Central? It's not really working that good. And it worked, but it was kind of weird. Now, from what I understand, it's like completely down right now. Completely down. It says track maintenance in progress. It's completely down right now. I have no idea when it's going to be fixed, if it's going to be fixed. I know that, like I said, right now, there's a link in the description where you can go pick up a good chunk of the tracks. And so we'll just kind of have to wait and see. So if you're asking me about Reflex Central, I don't know. I don't follow it. If it's back, it's back. If it's not, you know, I don't know. It's not something that I can control or really have any insight knowledge on. There's a few guys that you could probably talk to that have the inside scoop, but I'm not deep enough into the community to know that or to really care. So yeah, if you want to download these tracks or a good chunk of the tracks, again, link in the description. Otherwise, Central is down for right now. We have no, I don't understand or know when it's going to be fixed or if it's going to be, and yeah, so check the description for the link and definitely go check out this track as well as Nick's track. I think he had 2 versions of that track too. His track, I think he has like a potato version and then the version we were checking out. Also with this one, there's the free ride and the raceable. Oh yeah, and there's a scavenger hunt for geckos. You can, or geckos, my bad, gecko, I'm thinking about gecko. You can go search for the gecko. There's 8 geckos. It's just like a little thing you can do inside of the free ride map. Kind of a cool thing. I never checked it out, but it's an extra added feature to their track that is something different. So yeah, I encourage you to go to check it out. We're about done with this lap. You guys and girls are absolutely amazing. Thank you so much for the support on the channel lately. And until the next video, take it easy.